3 months of rent to get out of the contract. The other part in retail is how you lay out your products. All your products should be fully stocked. So the key here is if you can afford only $10,000 worth of inventory, and the only space available in this mall might be 2,000 square feet, what you may want to do rather than scattering all this product around, partition 2/3 of that off, at least at 1/3, you can display all your products properly, and it looks like there's nothing back ordered. Generally, no product should be laid up any higher than eye level itself. But at the same time, you want to stack products right up to the ceiling. Now, we had a manager from Zellers when we were out in London, and what they do is they work with their suppliers, and this is something that you may want to do, is just order all these empty cartons and all these empty boxes, and you just stack it to the ceiling. Because when you walk in Zellers, it looks like there's everything and anything that you want to buy. But in most cases, all they have is half a dozen or a dozen of these products. And because of the computerized ordering system today, you know your time, how it takes to bring back the product itself. But you're creating this illusion that there's nothing back ordered. Shelving, it can make all the difference. Say we were selling this jewelry item, and you can spend maybe $2,000 on the shelf, and it sounds expensive, but it can make all the difference in how you display it. You could be importing costume jewelry, but because the shelving is $2,000, you get the proper lighting. It looks like this costume jewelry is worth $3,000, $4,000. So it can make all the difference of how it's actually presented. Lighting today, you're not just going to use incandescent lighting. There's chandelier lighting, pot lighting, there's halogen lighting, fluorescent lighting. There's different ways you can best present your products yourself. So it's very important that you look into some of these, even the colors that you choose for your business. Like Loblaws, they're one of the most successful people in mass merchandising groceries and into the U.S. today. The colors they use, very distinct colors like yellow, red. These are powerful colors, but they illustrate quality and also newness. Black and white, again, these are striking colors. And a lot of times what they use in advertising, some of the strategies that you may want to use, a lot of times they advertise the staples like bread, eggs, milk, and you can save 50 cents on when you walk into some of these groceries. But trying to find some of these items, you know it's like going through a maze. But if you go in to buy and spend $5 on these groceries, usually by the time you show up at the cash register, you spend $20 to $30. And the reason is they've set up their products in such a way that they can sell you on emotion, so you end up picking and buying all these other products that you had no intention originally of setting up. So same thing in retail, you have to lay out your retail. It's not that you're trying to take advantage of your customers, but these are products that they feel that they need at that point, but you have to lay it out in such a way that they feel they need at that point. Okay? So again, look at retail strategically laying it out. So there is a science in how you lay out your products and how you package and present it to your customers. So now is the time for those of you interested in serious about getting into retail. The third one is opening up a service business. Again, when you came in, what Kyle gave you here was a little booklet idea of what's important. What you have to look at around you, over 60% of all the business today are a service business of some sort. So the chances are 6 in 10 of you here will be opening up a service business. Okay? But again, you said I'm not interested in retail, but I can tell you, you need to learn about retail. It can increase your bottom line up to 50%. You might go out in college, university, study to be a hairdresser or to be a professional architect. But many times you'll find, although you provide that service, say we cut hair, by the time you walk out of my salon, I've sold you some hair care products or some shampoo itself or gave you some tint. So by learning how to retail products, although your main skill and trade like might be providing software support or hardware support, you end up selling these customers another software program or another computer itself. So you do need to learn a little about retail as much as you provide a service to your customer. Now, the most popular way how to market a service business is through a testimonial. So at the beginning, what you may have to do is volunteer and do some work for your customers in your area of industry. So if we're, say, involved with computers, what we want to do is do some work for companies like IBM, Microsoft, Apple. All we want here is a letter from them saying that we've done work for them. So what happens is when John calls and say, I have a hardware software problem, we show him the letter we've done for IBM. There's no question we can do work for you. No amount of advertising replaces testimonial. Okay? But again, service business, it doesn't require a huge investment in the location because chances are the service is actually done at that customer's location. So again, if we're fixing computers, they're not going to bring it to our location. We're going to go to their location to fix their computer. So it's possible to run a service business starting out of your home. If you feel you need a separate location to operate, you don't necessarily have to pay $200. You can pay $10 a square feet or work out of an industrial or just a strip plaza. Because if you are that specialized in a service, people will come out of their way to find where you're operating from. Okay? The next way to get into business is buying an existing business. Again, you can buy a manufacturing business, you can buy a retail business, you can buy a service business, you can also buy a franchise. But what I want to do is go through a little exercise here. I personally believe one of the easiest ways and safest ways of getting into business is just buying an existing business. Because if all you've done was just take over this operation, you would make a minimum income. Where if you're getting started from scratch in somebody's business we're talking about, it might be 6 months or a year before you realize any income. So if we're looking to say buy into a restaurant, it may not be the menu that we want to offer ourselves, or it may not be the name and the furnishings may not be exactly the way we see it. But you can make these changes gradually, but at least you have income coming from day one. Financing is much easier. Again, you may use your bank or their bank in financing, but in many cases banks will finance up to 100% of an existing business. But bottom line, you're in the business and you are making money from day one. So again, what we're going to do is take you through a little exercise here on how to buy a business. So the first one here, which you want to look at, in buying a business. Now this is covered in detail in the blueprints in lesson 27. Whether you have an existing business, we'll show you how you can sell your business. But the other way around right now, you want to learn how to buy a business. So the first one, what you want to do is come up with this acquisition criteria. In lesson 27, what we do is list 130 points of what you need to know. This is your blueprint or your shopping list. Similar like when you want to go shopping in a grocery store, the best thing for you to do is actually make up a shopping list. You don't want to just walk in this grocery store and throw everything in the cart, because you're going to end up buying everything without buying many items that you don't really find that you need. So the best thing is coming up with this acquisition criteria. Examples of this acquisition criteria might how much you are prepared to buy or afford to invest into this business. Where you want to locate your business. For example, when we talk about manufacturing, you may not want to locate your business in China or Mexico. Geographically, where you want to locate your business. How many employees are you actually looking to hire if you don't want to hire the employees itself? Certain business may not fit in that criteria itself. So the better your acquisition criteria, the better chance of you locating the business you're looking to buy. The next one here is where you buy a business today, or where you find a business. Now, as consumers, more than likely you read a newspaper of some sort, and if you venture into the classifieds, many times you'll find under business opportunities, businesses for sale. If you be a little more creative, rather than reading just the Toronto Sun or the Star, you might look into the Financial Times, Financial Post, Globe and Mail. By learning about some of these other sources, you now have about 5 other papers of business for sale. But again, in order to make an optimal decision, you have to know what all the choices are. So when you go through these 5 or 6 papers, now you have at least access to 20 to, or not 20, but you probably have access to about 100 to 200 businesses that you know are for sale that particular week. Some other sources where you can find a business that you may not be aware of. This is a trade publication, and these magazines you can just pick it up at your local variety store or bookstore. This one's called the Business Exchange. So here it lists about another 50 different businesses that you may not have been aware of. This one here is called the Business Buyer's Guide. And a lot of brokers advertise business for sale or to sell here. But there's another 50 that might be listed here. Business Investment Opportunity Guide. So there's about another 20, 30 listed here. This one here is called the Canadian Business Opportunities Paper. So again, this is another source that you may not be aware of. That list is another 20 or 30. But your one biggest source combined with those is the multiple listing service. Now this is the ICI or commercial listing book. It's not the one that you go to buy your home or sell your home. This is the commercial division. So if you're dealing with a residential broker, you have to go to their main office itself where they sell commercial properties and commercial business. But in here you'll find, and they publish this every week, okay? This is from last year, but what you normally find is there's about 4 or 6 businesses listed on every page. But in this one edition, in one particular week, there's about 1,600 pages listed in here. So at any one time in Toronto, just in this listing itself, for Metropolitan Toronto, there could be 20 to 30,000 other businesses that you may not have been aware of. So what you normally want to do is just get a back issue of this. And again, because they get a new one the following week, so you get your agent to get this listed for you, and then you drop them. Because normally what we recommend is a lot of times you can use a business broker to help you source a business. And these guys, they don't charge 4% or 5% like you would pay to sell your home. These guys charge anywhere from 1 to 20% commission based on the volume. So you're buying a manufacturing business for $1 million, they might charge you 1% or $10,000 or $20,000. But if your business is looking for a business at less than $500,000, I've seen them charge as much as 20%. So I'm not sure if you're prepared to pay this guy 20% commission just for helping you find a business. What we teach you here in the best method in buying a business, what we call direct solicitation. And the best business that you actually uncover, and the ones that you end up buying are the ones that aren't necessarily for sale. Now, it might take you another 6 months or another year to find the business that you're looking to buy, but when you locate this business, I can be sure that you can get a good deal. And also is sending out a letter stating that if ever you're interested in selling your business, please give me a call. And every business has a price when they are prepared to sell it, if the price is right. But more importantly here, I want to show you how to evaluate the business and what is a fair price when you actually take over this business. So the first one here is looking at the asking price. When you go through these newspapers, these different publications through the multiple listing service, many times what they list here is an asking price. Now, you may want to write this down. What the vendor's asking price is not necessarily what the business is worth. Similarly, like if you own a house right now, you live in this house for the past 10 years, you'll find you do some renovations, and you upgrade your home, and you end up falling in love. You're convinced that by adding this addition here, it's going to bring the value of the business up another, or your house another $10,000, $20,000. And you get very emotionally caught up on that. But what ends up happening, I guess, those we've just gone through a boom here, you're convinced that your home is now worth $300,000, $400,000. Okay? But the reality, it might be worth only $100,000 or $200,000. Same thing with a business. You've decided that it's worth this $100,000 or $200,000, but it is considered a starting point, because if he's asking $100,000 and this company's making $75,000, we'll give him $100,000. But if he's asking $100,000, only making $20,000, we may not necessarily give him this $100,000 he's asking for. But it is a starting point that you can begin with. Another way to evaluate a business is through comparisons. Again, similar to real estate, if we're looking for a house in a certain neighborhood, like in our acquisition criteria, we might be looking for a 3-bedroom house with a single-car garage. A lot of times what real estate agents will do is go through back history up to 3 months and see what someone else would have paid for a 3-bedroom house. Now, this one might have had a jacuzzi added and double-car garage. But within 5 or 10%, you can be fairly accurate of what someone else would have paid. Not necessarily what you're going to pay, but at least you know someone else has paid this amount for this type of business that you might be looking at. Another way to evaluate a business is through business ratio. Now, this one here, you definitely want to get a hold of one of these reports, regardless if you don't actually buy a business. And what these business ratio reports show you on here, now they're available from organizations like Dun & Bradstreet, Creditel, in the U.S. TRW, Standards & Poor's. But what they produce in these reports are factual information, but more returns on profit that you can realize in specific businesses, whether you're involved in retail, service, wholesale, or manufacturing. So examples of this here include, say, for the retail trade, auto and accessory parts, book and stationery stores, clothing stores for men, women, children, department stores, drug stores, dry goods, electrical appliance repair, florists, food stores. If you're into wholesale, they list coal, drug and toiletry products, food products, furniture products. So here what they do is list you what kind of profit should be realized in each business. For example, say a drugstore. The average profit realized in a drugstore is 24.4%. So if this business is doing $100,000 in sales, after all expenses, after all taxes, you would have made about $24,400 in profit. Now, if we look at this business for sale, and he's asking $100,000, and he's only making $20,000, he's not even keeping up with what the average drugstore is earning in terms of profit. But if he's making $30,000, he's running a pretty successful drugstore, and we're prepared maybe to give him this $100,000 he's asking for. But you may want to, in whatever business you get into, get hold of one of these reports to see what kind of projection profits that you can expect in the business and being realistic. Okay. Again, these reports cost about $50, so it's definitely worth the investment when you do the research. Another way to evaluate a business is through book value. Now, the minimum you're normally prepared to pay are for the assets of the company. And it's similar like when you said when you start a business, you might have a desk at home. About 2 years ago, it might be worth only $200, $300. Same thing in the existing business. These equipment are not brand new. They might be 3, 4 years old. But normally the minimum you're going to pay would be the assets of the company. You may not even pay that if there's no income. Okay? But normally the minimum you would pay is the book value of the items that the business owns. The last one here is ROI. Now that stands for return on investment. So you're going to probably use a combination of these formulas. There's also other rules of thumb, like if you're in a grocery business, they usually use 6 times the gross billings. But you want to be aware of these different ways to calculate a business. But the best way we believe here in evaluating business is through ROI. Now I'll take you through how to calculate ROI, because you have to understand that when you buy into a business, this should be treated as an investment. Just as your time when you invest into a mutual fund, you're looking for a certain return on your investment. Or when you put your money in a bank, you're looking for a certain rate of return on investment. So same thing, it should be treated that when you buy into a business, this should be an investment, because not only sometimes you may have to quit your job to get involved with this, so you're losing some income possibility, but also a lot of energy you're going to put into this. So you're going to need different rates of return. So here in ROI, you can express as a percentage return over investment. So based on what kind of information available, you may have to play with the formula. For example, if this business is listed and the asking price is $100,000, and if we had $100,000 today, we could give them $100,000 and take over this business. Now, based on his financial statements over the past 5 years, he's made $30,000, which means you've made a 30% return on your investment. Okay? Now, if you were looking for a 40% return on your investment, this would not meet your criteria. Okay? If you're looking to make $20,000 and he's asking $100,000, we'll give him his $100,000. But the main thing here, what adds up is how you're going to finance and take